Hey, welcome back to Uncle Fezzi's Garage. So, a little backstory here. Two things. One is, what am I doing today? What's my game plan? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Well, in one of my previous videos, I was talking about my trailer, my utility trailer that I inherited from my father. And there's two problems with that trailer. One was the lighting system, which I fixed. I fixed that by attaching a ground wire from the frame of the trailer directly to the trailer itself. And my lighting problem went away. Now, one of the bigger problems with that trailer, and it's been a problem with that trailer since my father got it, is you can't see it when you're backing up. You can kind of see it in the mirrors, but usually, by the time you see the trailer in the mirror, you've already damaged it, or it's already so far out of whack. It's already so far out of whack that it takes a considerable amount of time to correct it. In one of my previous videos, I do a whole video on how I can't back up my trailer. Now, not for nothing, I do know how to back up a trailer. I can back up a 53-foot tractor trailer, slide it right into a hole, no problem. I can back up pretty much every other trailer I've ever used. For whatever reason, this little trailer, the axle, when they built these things, the axle is too close to the tongue of the trailer, the single axle trailer. And the side effect of that is the slightest correction backing up creates a huge correction at the trailer. So there's two ways to fix that. The one is to lengthen the tongue of the trailer. The other would be to move the axle further back. I don't want to do either one of those things. So, what am I going to do? Well, my father, when he originally put that trailer together, he put those tall plywood sides on it, and it kind of alleviated the issue of not being able to see the trailer because he raised the sides of the trailer to a point where you could see them most of the time. I eliminated the sides of the trailer. So, I need to put some form or another of indicators on the rear of the trailer so I could see where the trailer is at all times behind me while I'm backing up. Not so much when I'm going forward, but when I'm backing up, I need to see those things. Why fight with something when you can fix a pretty simple problem, right? So my father had originally put one of those fiberglass things that you put on a little kid's go-kart, and that thing snapped off. His first ride to Pittsburgh, that thing is laying somewhere between here and Beaver County. First the flag rips off, and then the pole got ripped off. So that was the end of that, and that didn't last very long. So I pulled through my hoard, and I came up with a solution. So I have these pieces of PVC here, which, if you know anything about PVC, if you dealt with PVC pipe, even Schedule 40, Schedule 80 is not so bad, but Schedule 40 has a tendency to be kind of bendy. This is 3/4 inch, so it's not super duper bendy. But this is 1/2 inch, and it bends real easy. I'm not strong at all. As a matter of fact, my bingo flaps are going crazy there. So the answer is, and there's two, this is a two-folded answer. I'm going to take this conduit, this 1/2 inch conduit, and slide it into the pipe here. And slide it into the pipe and glue it into place. Well, there's a little bit of a diflugally with that because the 1/2 inch PVC, or the 3/4 inch PVC and the 1/2 inch conduit, they rattle. Not a real big deal, except for the fact that eventually it's going to rattle apart. If it's not tight, it will, through expansion and contraction through weather, it's gonna eventually come apart. So, how am I gonna fix that problem? Well, the other thing is I'm gonna leave this much of the PVC. I'm gonna leave this much, about 1 1/4 inch of the 1/2 inch conduit sticking out of the pipe itself, so I can remove these if I want to. We'll see how it goes. Whether or not this is going to be a permanent thing or a non-permanent thing. These things have a tendency to get in the way. That's how they get broken off. Is someone inevitably, me, anyone, you either walk past them and you hit them, or you see it, you think it's a handhold, you grab a hold of it and you snap it off. That's the other reason that I'm putting the conduit on the inside, because everybody I'm guilty of this. I'm the one that's going to do it. So my game plan is to use West System epoxy and this paper towel here to create kind of like a buffer to fill in the distance, to fill it in the space between the two. Now, is it going to work? I don't know. I mean, it will work. The question is what is the longevity of that project? What is the longevity of it going to be? I have pretty much, this is going to sound really terrible, but it's the truth. I have pretty much, I'm 51, oh, actually I'm 52 now. I'm 52 years old. I've been doing projects very similar to this for my entire life. And one of the things I learned a long time ago is if you can get 5 years out of a project, if you can get 5 years, maybe 10 out of anything, then without having to do anything to it, then you're doing good. When I was painting cars, for a living, even the car paint manufacturers, it was, if you got 10 years out of a paint job before it failed, eventually they all fail, even the factory ones, then you were doing good. And under normal conditions, we're not talking about some garage kept trailer queen that never sees rain or weather or anything like that, or sun. The sun is the most brutal of what destroys stuff, but we've all seen the old westerns with bleached bones in the desert. Well, that's what's going on here. So actually what I need to do is see how much of this I can leave on here. Yeah, it's too tight. I want it to be just tight enough. I think half. I want it to be tight enough so that it doesn't rattle, but I don't want it so tight that it squishes all the epoxy out of the piece. I had a half of a brainstorm here, and that I was going to actually just use the construction adhesive, but I got the epoxy out, and I wish I had. West System makes a flexible hardener now. I do not have that flexible hardener. I would have it if I would be using that if I have it, and I don't have it. Now West System does and will eventually get hard as a rock. And as a matter of fact, if you mix it wrong, it'll get so hard that it cracks. West System is great. I also have the fillers for the West System. I have that's perfect. I have, so this just slides in here now. It's not too loose, but it's not too tight. It takes up, there's about maybe a 1/16 of an inch. There's about a 1/16 of an inch that needs to be taken up. It's actually less than a 1/16. Well, it's a 1/16, but it's actually a 32nd around it that needs to be taken up. And like I said, this isn't one of my exciting videos. This is more of a this is something that I do on a daily basis that I just kind of thought, hey, you know what? This goes back. Well, actually, this goes back to my original videos of like, this is just what I do during the day. This is why my wife keeps me around. Now I'm sure there's 1,000 different ways that you could do this project. I know there is, because I've done them. One of the things I should do with this is heat the PVC to get some of the oxidation off of it, but it's the inside of the pipe, so it's not really going to work all that well. The other thing I could do, which I actually already did do off camera, was I cleaned the PVC. Oh, too much. I cleaned the PVC on the inside actually with some acetone. So the inside of the pipes are clean. The outside of these have been sanded. They have galvanizing on them, so nothing's really going to stick to it anyway. I'm curious. I'm really just curious to see if this works at all. I mean, I know it'll work under a temporary basis. It'll probably stay there for a while, and I don't really... This trailer for the next 6 months is going to be making a 2-mile trip through town, hauling a liquid oxygen cylinder. So that's going to be another video too. How I've never had to actually haul liquid oxygen ever. I've never dealt with this stuff. My buddy who's coming into town, the glass blower, he's used it extensively over the last 25 years. That's why we're using it, because he needs it. He needs it to work with, or he needs it to work. There we go. Now there's a hole in the end here. It's open. I'm gonna actually, I'm gonna do it right now. I'm gonna heat this up, and I'm gonna pinch it closed. I'm not gonna waste a cap on it, because this isn't plumbing. It's just, it's literally just a project. I just don't want I could just do it with these. I could just take 2 pieces of conduit, stick it in there, it would be fine. And chances are it would probably never corrode to the point where it was unsightly. It's just my preference to have them coated with plastic. Just I think they would look cooler. I could go buy 2 wood dowels also, but again, wood, it's gonna get floppy over time, guaranteed. It's gonna be all floppy. We don't want that. I don't want that. I want it to look pretty nice. For multiple reasons. I am not particularly fond of having my balls relentlessly busted by people. And if there's one thing, and it's not that, I don't know how to actually, I don't know how else to put it, because then that just opens me up to even more, relentless fucking criticism about the things that I do. But I grow weary. Everybody's a fucking expert. Basically is what it comes down to, myself included. I am not above reproach when it comes to doing that. My father was really kind of famous for complaining about how I did things. Which is really ironic, since I throw up all this stuff on the internet, knowing that I'm going to get, knowing that I'm going to be ridiculed in some way, shape, or form. But I just kind of want to show, well, this is why I'm doing it this way. And if you don't like the video, or if you don't like how I did it, make your own damn video. And if you get that reference, good for you. I personally think that this is a great way to do it. These are the little bits that they never show you on this old house. So I know it's silly for me to that's why I could spend my entire life doing this stuff and not talk to anybody about it. But maybe somebody out there is looking, has the similar problem, doesn't feel like spending any money. They've got a couple hunks of PVC laying around and they go, hey, wow, that's a really good idea. You know, and it's not some nonsensical project from Asia where they take ramen and fix a sink with it. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. You know, this is a real solution to a real problem. If you've ever towed a trailer, a small utility trailer, and you've tried to back it up, you know that it's very difficult to see. It's very difficult to see that trailer. It's very difficult to see the trailer, and there's nothing more degrading than having some jerk off screaming at you that if you don't know how to drive, park it. Anybody who knows me knows the reference that I'm making there to a certain person who I used to work with, used to work for. The only creature on earth that was more infallible than him was Jesus Christ. So, I got that little secret out of the way. All right, so now. This video is already too long, so I'm going to edit out a good bit of it. All right. I'm going to do about that much. You know how I know this video is already too long? Because I need a cigarette. I'm a bit of a dumbass. Shocking, I know. I should have actually already mixed the epoxy. West System epoxy is fantastic. Is a fantastic product. It's a full system. I've had incredibly good success with it over the years. I've used it for more things than I can shake a stick at. And like I said, I have several different things to go with it. Different thickeners and additives and hardeners and what have you. The irony to me is that this is the fast hardener. And quite frankly, the fast hardener just means that it's going to be, it'll only be 6 hours before it gets hard as opposed to 24 hours. And I got a ton of it. So, if you do West System epoxy, which there's a couple things that you do have to keep in mind, and one of them is just buy the pumps. That's my pump, just broke. Just buy the pumps. I haven't used these in a long time. So what I got going on here, there we go. I haven't used these pumps in probably 6 months. If you keep it sealed with the pumps, it's one. Oh, that's none. If you keep it sealed, two. This stuff actually stays good for a long time. I mean, like years. 3. You don't want to be in a rush. 4. And always mix way more than you think you're going to need to. 5, 6. 7. The reason is, when you mix little tiny bits, 8, 9, 10. You have less leeway. So when I first started out here with this, right, theoretically I should have probably thrown this container away, purged the pumps and started all over again. But I'm lazy. So what's going to happen, this is going to do the same thing. It's going to go, because it's been sitting there forever. Oh, no it didn't. So my hardener looks like it's a little oxidized. 1. Oh, there it goes. 2. Yuck. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. Now, I'm not building a pressure vessel. I'm not clearing, I'm not using this to, I'm not building a pressure vessel, which I don't think this is rated for pressure vessels anyway. I'm not waterproofing my vintage wooden boat. I'm not building a canoe. I am not, what do you call it? Yeah, this is a bullshit project. So you see this red in there? That's the hardener's oxidized. Now, the West System hardeners are not clear. I do have a clear. They came up with that a couple years ago because they wanted to use it for table resin and things. They've always been off color. They've always been a little yellow. In this particular case, this one's pretty heavily oxidized. I have faith that it's going to work. I've never had the shit not get hard. I've never had the stuff not get hard eventually. I have uncured epoxy on my coffee cup. So this may actually cause a problem, but we'll see. Like I said, I'm not. This is a bullshit project. So what I should do is stop this project completely and let this see if this is going to hit. I have faith that it's going to hit. I have been using West System for well over 20 years now. I was introduced to West System epoxy in the early 2000s, and not for nothing, I've never had it go bad. I've never had it fail. The color, the discolorization is oxidation in the hardener. It may cause a problem. It may not. You know, I'm not too worried about it. And like I said, this is a bullshit project, so we're not worried about that either. So I got my handy dandy heat gun here. PVC is highly flexible when it's heated. It's one of the hallmarks of PVC. You have to heat it. You have to heat it to the correct temperature, which is like 350 degrees, and not burn it. Burning it's real easy to do. So I have an adjustable heat gun here. It goes from, well, this one goes from 1 to 7. My other one went from 1 to 10, which is 3 better than 7, right? So just going to heat this end up till it gets relatively pliable, and then I'm just going to stick it in this vise over here and clamp it shut, and I'm going to put a piece of tape on it to seal it. You don't want to leave the top open, because if you do, it will get water in it. It'll get water in it, and then it'll freeze, and then it'll crack, and then you're back to zero. Got a ways to go here. If you look at, you can actually see it starting to. 7's better than 6. You'll actually, if you pay very close attention to it, you'll see it starting to get melty and such. I don't want to overheat it. Oh, now there it goes. Oop. Yeah, I see how it's actually got flexible even quicker than I thought it was going to. You want to remove the memory from the pipe, and to do that, it needs to get relatively hot. You don't want it liquidy, because it will melt. Usually it burns. It'll go from melt to burn really quick. Yeah, it's starting to burn a little bit. Should be long enough. There we go. So now we've kind of sealed the end. It's not totally sealed, of course, because why would it totally seal? It's sealed enough. I'm going to put tape over the end of it to seal it. So there we go. My epoxy's already starting to bubble, which is a good thing. That means it's starting to get hard. The fast hardener says it's got a 30-minute working time. Under normal circumstances, it's actually way longer than 30 minutes. Now, if you put any of the additives in it, that can lower the hardener. That does absolutely lower the working time. It absolutely lowers the working time. The other thing that lowers the working time is the amount of epoxy in your mixing vessel. So the thicker it is in the mixing vessel, again, the less time you have, the less working time you have. It's not going to hit. Actually, if it does hit, that would be great, because then I know that the hardener is still good. I'm fairly sure the hardener is good. I'm not overly worried about that. Oh, there we go. And second time's a charm. I'm gonna heat this one back up and mush it a little more. Good enough. And so we're going to put some tape over the end of it to seal it for good. We'll take the tape off later, probably. Or maybe not. I might just put it on there. It's green, right? It's green, and I need an indicator. I might paint these bright orange also. I'll see what color paint I have floating around here. Orange or red. Or the other thing I could do with them is put a piece of reflective tape on the top. That's also another thing that I might do. I have in my hoard, I do believe I have a couple little hunks of ICC tape. If not, I know where I can get a piece. ICC tape is stupid expensive for some odd reason. Well, I know why it's expensive. It's expensive because it says ICC on it. You know, if it's required by the government, it says DOT and ICC on it. So therefore, they can charge whatever they want. All right. It's the libertarian coming out of me, kids. Why do something inexpensively when you can say you're with the government, charge 10 times more than it's worth? I'm not even going to waste a paintbrush on this project, I don't think. Probably not a bad idea. Now I'm going to saturate the paper towel, and I am going to waste a paintbrush on it just because I can. It's easier that way. Take some of those up for my wife. So you want to make sure that this is pretty saturated. The paper towel, by its very nature, is going to want to suck it up, because that's what paper towels do, right? They suck up. They suck up water, moisture. They suck up whatever. I've actually done this project. I've used paper towels in the past as substrate for epoxy and fiberglass repairs. I know it seems ludicrous to do it, but the truth of the matter is, once the paper is saturated, once the paper towel is saturated, it just becomes it's no different than fiberglass, really. The reason they use fiberglass is because it takes the it's a little bit stronger. I mean, it is obviously stronger because of the nature of the weave, but like I said, there's more than one R model Mac running around town that's got paper towels in the fenders. Trust me, I didn't come up with this on my own. I didn't come up with this idea on my own. I was actually taught by a guy who did composite work for a relatively large composite company, and he said, yeah, it was very common to do exactly what I'm doing here. Yeah, that kind of fucked up on me. That's okay. The tape wasn't stuck. Now, we gotta trim that off. Whenever you're futzing with epoxy or fiberglass, you wanna just set aside some razor blades and the 89-cent scissors that you get from Harbor Freight. You know, they used to be 89 cents. I think they're more expensive than that now. They're $1, I think. These. And you just write them off. There's no saving them. I should set this aside for later to show you how hard those things get. It will be absolutely as hard as a rock in a couple hours. What I may do too with the leftovers here is When I'm all done, when I'm done doing this, I may actually just pour the leftover epoxy down this tube. I don't think that's exactly what I'm going to do. Whatever leftover epoxy I have, I'm just going to pour down the tube. I want these to be solid, but I want them to be kind of solid. So there we go. The trash can worked perfectly for that. And like I said, I know this is a bullshit video. I'm not catching myself on fire. I'm not doing anything dumb. I'm not dancing around with my silly hat on, making an asshole out of myself. All I'm doing is showing how I do certain things, or this is a solution to a problem that I know people have. That you can just, like I said, you can just go buy these things. A friend of mine, his famous line is, "Don't build what you can buy." Sometimes I take great satisfaction in building things. Simple problems, simple answers to simple problems. And in this particular case, I can't see my trailer, so why not just do this? And you never know. I mean, well, there's a really good possibility that I might stick these things in here and never ever take them back out. It's just really the truth. I mean, these might get stuck in place. I'm not going to glue them into the trailer. I have the wood on the top of the trailer, so I'm just going to drill holes in it and stick it in there. I thought of a couple different ways to do it. And to me, this seemed to be the most elegant solution. I thought about just drilling holes and sticking the PVC in, and then I thought about it a little bit. I'm like, that's great, except PVC has a tendency to bow and bend and break. Some idiot, probably myself, is going to end up using it as a handhold. So there's so many different reasons to do it this way, and some of them are real. Some of the is it a real problem? To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to show up on camera. There we go. So, I did just walk past the epoxy and get it on my ass, because why wouldn't I? That's why I had my apron on. Now, of course, the apron covered the front of me, but not my ass. Alright. Now, also, and this is just as a FYI, epoxy is obviously, it's a catalytic exothermic reaction, so you might want to be a little mindful that there's a really good possibility, it's already getting warm. And so this is, I'm just getting rid of the extra epoxy. This is a completely unnecessary step. I'm also doing this over in the trash can. Epoxy is a mess. You have to be dedicated to, you got to be dedicated to the cause when it comes to epoxy. Now I'm not going to, but I could, yeah, it's already actually starting to hit. That's a good thing. Alright, so I knew it would hit. So basically it looks to me like it's just a color issue. Alright, well, we'll get back to this in like 6 hours. It'll probably hit hard. It would hit hard enough to futz with in probably 2 hours, but we're going to let it sit for the rest of the day. Yeah. Right on my ass. Well, I gotta remember not to sit in my recliner later. And the other joke is, I put out this piece of paper. I don't know if it shows up on camera. Oh yeah. So I put out this piece of paper to cover my just freshly re-oiled workbench, and I immediately got epoxy on the spot that didn't have a piece of paper on it. I'm actually going to pull this paper off of here because the epoxy will, this epoxy will soak right through this resin paper. It'll soak right through the paper. You got about 5 minutes, 10 minutes max, and it will soak through the paper eventually. The West system doesn't soak through the paper as quickly as the table resin. The table resin, see that? That'll eventually saturate all the way through, and it actually damaged my bench using it. So that's it. That's end part 1, and in part 2 I'll show you how I'm going to install them.